Hey guys, The Explorer of Horror here, the Horror Boy. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today we're continuing our reviews on the Final Destination films with my review on the third entry in the series, Final Destination 3, which came out in 2006, gets a 5.8 on IMDb, directed by James Wong, who of course is the first movie in Dragon Ball Evolution. And for most people, this is the first bad movie. A lot of people say that this is when the series went downhill. But this is still a pretty solid sequel in my opinion. I don't have many problems with this movie, to be honest. I still think this is a fun time. And I'll be honest, it's not that bad. It is not that bad. I will say this, the second movie, the first movie are still awesome. But I will say this is still a very solid film. I will be honest. This is still a very solid film. I think there's still a lot of things that really hold up with this movie, and I still think there's a lot of things that are really good in this movie. But first of all, this is a bit of an older DVD. This is probably a DVD that came out back when this movie first came out. But it is a good DVD nevertheless. Has a lot of features, and has a really cool thing of this movie where you can choose the fate of the characters and change events in the movie, which is something that I've never seen done before, and I've never seen done since. I kind of wish more movies would do this, because once again, something new, something different, keeping it fresh, not really, you know, like if you watch the movie on its own, it's kind of the same thing, but again, it's an option in there just kind of to keep things fresh, to be different with this movie. But yeah, Final Destination 3, this is the first Final Destination movie that I remember seeing commercials for. And the roller coaster aspect, of course, is the big thing with this movie. And I remember seeing the commercials for this movie and really thinking it was such a crazy looking movie. And I had went to various theme parks growing up, rode plenty of roller coasters, so the fact that this movie's premonition scene is about a roller coaster, I think it's just such a cool idea, and I think it's such a scary idea. It's such a relatable idea. You know, that's the cool thing about these first three movies, is that, you know, most of us have been on a plane, or at one point been on a plane. Most of us have, you know, been on the highway. Most of us have been on a roller coaster or two. And I really dig this movie's ideal with the roller coaster. I just wish it was... I wish it was honestly used a little bit more. I get it, it's the premonition scene, but it would have been really, really cool to see more of the roller coaster aspect in this film. Excuse me. But this movie's plot, I mean, it's pretty much, this is when, you know, you start noticing that they're really, this rinse repeat. These friends, they go to this amusement park, they get on the roller coaster, of course, goes crazy, people start dying, coasters start derailing, people start falling out of the roller coaster and stuff like that. And of course, it's all a premonition. And from there on, once again, people start getting knocked off one by one. And in this movie, you have Mary Elizabeth Winstead as our lead, and I'm a really big fan of her as an actress. I think she does a great job in horror films. In my opinion, I thought she did a pretty good job in the Thing prequel. Not a fan of that prequel at all, because that prequel is really horrible, but I thought she did pretty good in that movie. And I thought she did really good in 10 Cloverfield Lane. I thought she was great in that movie. And I thought in this movie, she's a really awesome lead. And I thought, yeah, like I said, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I've seen plenty of movies with her in it, and she does a great job in every single one of these movies. And I think she honestly is a very good lead. Her acting, her character, she's a great lead. And I will say that this movie, even though the cast, not really the cast, but the characters, the way they're written, I will say the first two movies obviously have better characters, but these characters are not that bad. This cast, I still think, is pretty good. You got Ryan Merriman, you got Chris Lynchy. I know a lot of these guys would be in other movies. A lot of this cast I've seen in other films before. Like one of them is Decker, I believe, from Halloween Resurrection. I believe. I'm gonna try and find the other lead here. I believe he's the guy from Halloween Resurrection, if I'm not mistaken. The Decker character. One of them is, Halloween Resurrection. And I think it's a decent cast. I mean, you have our two leads. One is the girlfriend of one of the guys who died on that accident. The other is the boyfriend to one of the girls that died in the accident too. And they kind of work together. I think they're really good leads. The rest of the cast, once again, I think is still pretty decent. And with this movie, there's some great gore. I will say this. It's not really doing much of the plot, but I will say this. Even though it's still kind of the same plot, I will say this. It does not short you on gore. There's lots of inventive kills in this movie. There's lots of gore. And you have stuff like an engine flying out of a car and just the blades revving up and cutting the back of this guy's head. You see brain matter shooting out. It's crazy. You have like a nail gun death scene where a nail gun just shoots a bunch of nails into a girl's face. Kind of like an oh shit moment. There's a moment at a carnival where this giant crane thing just kind of falls and just splats somebody. You have the beginning of the movie's premonition scene where people are falling out of the roller coaster and, you know, one person flies up, hits a beam, and they get split in half. So the premonition scene is actually really solid in this movie as well. And I want to talk about that real quick. The premonition scene is just so, like, it fits this movie. It's this movie's thing, is the roller coaster aspect. And like I said, we've all been on a roller coaster or two. Whether you like roller coasters or you don't, you've been on one at least. I love roller coasters. I go to theme parks. I try to go to theme parks a lot. So I can relate to being on a roller coaster and you being scared that something like this can happen. And unfortunately, there have been like real accidents, but there's always that fear in the back of your mind that when you're on a roller coaster, that there's something bad could happen. You know, like, what if this thing just broke? What if you were just stuck upside down? And this movie covers those fears. And I think it does a great job at exploring that aspect of, like I said, relatability. It's creepy. It's a scary aspect of the film because, like I said, we've all been on roller coasters. So I thought that was really well handled. And I thought it was a really cool thing to put in this movie. You know, the first movie had the airplane sequence, second movie had the highway sequence, this movie has the roller coaster sequence. I think it really fits this film. And like I said, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, our other lead, and there's also a guy from Wrong Turn 2 in here. He's one of the leads from that movie, Texas Battle. He's from Wrong Turn 2, does great in that, and does great in this as the asshole character. And like I said, you just have these really crazy, gory death scenes. Like, Texas Battle's death scene is really crazy, where he's lifting weights, and he's talking about, you know, ain't nothing gonna get me, I'm untouchable. You know, he's pretty much saying, nothing's gonna happen. He goes to lift these weights, and these weights just fly down and splat his head. And it's like, oh, shit. Or, in my opinion, the one that's the hardest to watch is the tanning bed death scene. You know, get to see some nudity there, which is really awesome. But also when she gets in there, and it's like burning her skin, it's just so hard to watch, so painful to watch. Just a scene that makes me cringe, man. It's just the way they did the scene. It's very practical, very, very brutal death scene, the tanning bed death scene. But yeah, I mean, this movie, like I said, as far as the plot goes, there's not much new introduced in this movie. That's the thing about Final Destination 2, is that sequel was able to introduce a lot of new things to the table. Here, it's a lot of the same thing, just a premonition, looking for signs, people getting knocked up one by one. End of the movie, you realize, oh, it's not how it is, and they all die. And that, actually, the way this movie ends, with actually a pretty decent idea for that I'm surprised they didn't put another movie where Mary Elizabeth Winstead's on this train and she has another premonition, except this one, it's not a premonition, it actually ends up happening where the train just gets torn apart and you have kind of two premonition scenes in one movie. And, you know, her character, you think, gets hit by a train. Like, maybe she did, maybe she didn't, you don't know, the movie ends. So it kind of ends with one of those endings that would kind of continue on in the next couple of sequels where everybody dies. And like I said, like, as far as the plot goes, you're not really getting much new, but in my opinion, everything else is nailed in this movie. I mean, you once again have a pretty cool score, which I forgot to mention the first two movies. First movie had a great score, second movie had a great score. Those two scores really were awesome, and here you have another great score. And the music I still think is pretty good. I still think it has an interesting look to it. Of course, James Wan comes back and still gives it that good atmosphere. Still gives it those well-shot sequences. So it has a look to it that I like. It has an atmosphere to it. I like the gore, the practicality. I like the premonition sequences with the train at the end of the movie and the beginning of the movie with the roller coaster. Sorry about that. Bumped the camera a little bit. But yeah, I really like the premonition sequences. Lots of gore. And the characters are pretty decent for what they are. I mean, they're not annoying. They're not, you know, just generic. They're decent for what they are. The cast is still doing a decent job. The acting is pretty decent. You got your gore. You got some craziness in there. I still think this is a solid sequel. I'll be honest. This, for me, we're still in the good zone with this movie. We're still there. This is still a good movie, in my opinion. It's a fun sequel. Gory. Good cast. It's awesome seeing Mary Elizabeth Winstead in her early role. It's awesome to see that guy from High Resurrection in this movie, and Texas Battle, and plenty of other cast members that you see in this movie kind of pop up, and you're like, hey, I recognize that, you know, actor or actress. So yeah, fun cast, fun characters, great gore, still pretty twisted and shocking. I like the idea of this DVD of Control the Fate, where you can pick whether a person dies or not, or how a certain scene will play out. And I thought, you know, for what it was a pretty cool idea. That, like I said, brung at least something a little bit more newer to this movie, to where you could do that in this film, this DVD. Yeah, it's a fast-paced movie, very, very short film, goes by at a fast pace. Yeah, to me, this is still good. We're still in, you know, good hands with this movie. I think this is a great sequel with, you know, great gore. Like I said, is it as good as the second movie? No, but still think it's a pretty solid movie. Still think it's pretty solid. For a third movie, I think it's still great. Like I said, gore, craziness, a little bit of nudity in there, which is awesome. You know, good leads, decent acting, cool music. Still get Tony Todd in there. I don't think the character that Tony Todd usually plays in this movie, I think you just hear his voice. But nevertheless, you have Tony Todd in there voicing, I believe, the voice of the roller coaster. Because this roller coaster kind of has this big giant demon in the front of it, and he voices the demon. So you still got Tony Todd in there in some way, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty solid movie. I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's still pretty solid in my opinion. I can watch it and have fun with it. It's very gory, bloody. Yeah, just crazy. Crazy movie. Still, you know, pretty crazy. And, yeah, fast-paced. And, you know, I give it a 7. I enjoy it quite a bit. Still enjoy this movie. But anyways, guys, my review on Final Destination 3. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you not? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it sucks? Do you think it's awesome? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, still a pretty good movie. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the review. I'll see you guys in the next video. The Explorer of Horror is out. See you guys later. Have a good night.